Well, hello and welcome. It is so good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're taking time to be here. I was thinking about a question. If I walked into your business and asked you to show me how your company actually runs, what would you show me? Now, most business owners would point to their people or maybe their software. But after spending years helping businesses grow, I found something different. You see, growing businesses don't become better just because they hire better people, although it can be part of it. The best, they become healthier because they install better operating tools, a system, if you will. So today, I want to show you the 5 foundational tools I believe every growing small business needs. And why would you need them? Well, every business reaches a point where the owner realizes, I'm working harder than ever, but the business isn't getting easier. We've grown, and it's more draining than ever. This isn't because the people aren't working. It's because the business doesn't have a common operating system. So with these 5 tools, what we're going to create for your business is clarity, accountability, and execution, so that you, business owner, have more freedom. So the tools we use a roadmap, an organizational chart, a scorecard, a weekly sync, and quarterly objectives. Those are the 5 tools. I'm going to talk about each of them a little bit here. We're going to start with the roadmap. Think of this as a one-page business plan, a one-page strategic plan. On this roadmap, it covers where you're going long-term, your destination, and why it matters. It identifies your unique identity as a business. It holds the values that you hold and the culture that you're creating and nurturing, as well as the habits that bring the values to life and make the values true and bring the culture to life. It addresses where we want to be in 3 years. And if we're going to be there in 3, where do we need to be in 1 year? And if we're going to be there in 1 year, where do we need to be in the next 90 days? Everything starts here. Your people need to know these things. They need to be top of mind. It's how we get clarity. It's how we get accountability. It's how we get execution. Without a roadmap, people stay busy. They just don't move in the same direction. There's a lot of busyness going on. That's different than a lot of productivity going on. I had a customer, this has been probably 2 years ago, and after going through the SOS, the Small Biz Operating System, one of his biggest takeaways, he said it felt like everybody was just kind of shooting randomly in multiple directions. But for going through the process, everybody was aligned, knew what the target was, and everybody was aiming toward and working toward the same target. It was a siding company, about a dozen employees. And really, this process took all this scattered energy and brought it together to a focused energy. And when the group moves together towards the common goal with an understood identity and clear objectives, it changes everything. The roadmap's important. Get it created, get it in the hands of your people. Number 2, the organizational chart. And this isn't necessarily about hierarchy, although there is a hierarchical format to most org charts, but that's not what this is about. This is about clarity. Who owns what? Who makes which decisions? Who is accountable and what are they accountable to? If somebody has a question, where do they go to get that question answered? Who would have ownership of it? See, when we have confusion about the roles, we have duplication. We have multiple people working on the same thing, not even realizing that they're working on the same thing. So we've got wasted energy and resources. Sometimes without a clear, well-designed org chart, things slip through the cracks because nobody's watching to make sure that the things that need to get done are getting done until we create a seat in the org chart and call out that responsibility and then put somebody in that seat. And now things aren't slipping through our fingers nearly as much. Eliminates confusion. It's the beginning of creating measurables, a scorecard, because as we build this org chart out and we define what the key functions and responsibilities are for a particular seat, and then we call out what the KPIs are, the key performance indicators. How do we know that the person sitting in that seat is being successful in the seat? With an org chart, we create clarity. We eliminate all these missed opportunities. We eliminate a lot of frustration. This org chart isn't just a one and done, put it in the file. We take it out at least every 90 days and we look at it again. We say, is this still who we are? Is this the way we need to be structured? Is this what serves our business, our team, and our customers the way we want to serve them? So org chart. Tool number 3 is your scoreboard. People perform better when they know the score. People are just more engaged when they know the score. So every business should have a handful of key numbers that answer one simple question. When we say a handful of numbers, it's usually somewhere between 5 and 15. But we need to answer the question, are we winning? If no one knows the score, everyone has an opinion, and no one has clarity. You know, in the United States, the last time I looked at the statistics for employee engagement, roughly 25 to 30% of employees are actually engaged in the work they do. About 60% are disengaged. They're showing up, but they're not really leaning in. And then there's a few on the tail end that are actively disengaged. They're working against you. And I'm reminded of I coached my son's football team. This is a number of years ago, probably 12 years ago, maybe more. And at this age, they're like fifth graders. And so the rule was, hey, we're going to play. We'll play against the other team, but nobody keeps score. And these boys, it's just lackluster. Like they're going through the motions, but there's no spark. And so, as coach, I'm pulling like, guys, what's going on? There's no fire out there. And one of the boys like, well, what's the difference? We're not keeping score. And so I thought for a second, I'm like, okay, what if we keep score, but we don't tell them? And they're like, can we do that? And I said, yeah, but we got to keep it quiet. Does anybody know what the score is now? And we were up like 10-7 or something. I don't remember. But the point is, man, these boys showed up differently the rest of the game. And they just went to town on this other team because they knew they were winning. They weren't just out there going through the motions. It's the same with your team at work. Everybody wants to know that they're winning. Most of us want to know that we're contributing something to something that's bigger than ourselves. And how do we know if we're really contributing? By keeping score. So develop your scoreboard. Next tool, your weekly sync. Now, the scoreboard's important, the org chart's important, the roadmap is important, but without the weekly sync, oftentimes they just become, coasters for a coffee cup or a water bottle, or file fillers, because we build them and then they get set aside and we think about them every once in a while. But with the weekly sync, this is what gives this engine or this vehicle that we're building, this is what gives it fuel. This could be the most important rhythm in the business. So every week as a leadership team, we get together And we connect, whether we're working virtually or in person, doesn't matter, but we connect, find out how we're doing, how we showing up. And then we answer these questions. What did we commit to? And did we get that done? So what got done? What's stuck? How are we doing on our scoreboard? Is there anything off track on our scoreboard? How about our quarterly objectives? Are we on track to reaching our objectives or not? What matters most for next week? What are the opportunities or obstacles that we're facing, that our team's facing? And then what actions need to be taken to move those out of the way, or if it's an opportunity to take advantage of it, or if it's simply, yes, we're on track and we need to stay on track with our quarterly objectives, what matters most next week? So without this rhythm, problems grow, and they grow quietly until suddenly what was a small fire in the trash can becomes a out of control 5-alarm fire. But with the weekly sync, we're putting them out even before the match gets to the paper. Weekly sync, tool number 4. Tool number 5, quarterly objectives. Businesses drift because they rarely stop to reset. We get caught up in the whirlwind. Always so much to do, things like fires to put out, right? Emergencies to respond to. But this quarterly reset or refuel, with this every 90 days, taking a day to stop, to get out of the weeds, instead of working in the business, we zoom out and we work on the business every 90 days. And we ask, okay, how did we do on our objectives from last quarter? Did we complete them all? What percentage did we complete? How are we doing on our annual plan? Are we on track to fulfill that plan? What's working? What's not working? What are our top priorities or objectives for the next quarter? What are the 2, 3, 4 things maybe that we have to be hyper focused on in the next 90 days to ensure that we're achieving our 1-year plan? This quarterly planning, this is what creates the focus. This is when I talked earlier about getting the team, like all that energy, going in the same direction. This is a key part of that. Everybody knowing and understanding what we've determined to be the most important things for the next 90 days so that we can say no to almost everything else. When we don't do this, the urgent always beats the important. We find ourselves stuck in the cycle of always responding to the urgent instead of defining and achieving the important quarterly objectives. That's tool number 5. So we've covered your roadmap, your org chart, your scorecard, your weekly sync, and quarterly objectives. The 5 foundational tools for any growing small business. Do you notice something? I don't think any of these are super complicated. They're relatively easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. And when I say easy, it's taking the time to sit down and think through it and do it. They're pretty simple tools, but together they create your operating system. They create the framework that is going to allow your business to run efficiently and not depend on you for everything, not depend on you all the time. When these tools are working together, you, business owner, don't have to carry the entire business in your head. It creates the opportunity for your team to lead with clarity, with autonomy, and being held accountable to the results. The business will run on shared clarity rather than on constant reminders. So here's my challenge for you. Just grab a piece of paper, write these things down: roadmap, organizational chart, scoreboard, weekly sync, quarterly objectives, and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on each of these. We've got a good roadmap. We've got a good plan. 1 being no plan at all, 10 being we're dialed in and rocking. Same thing with your org chart, your scoreboard, your weekly sync, your quarterly objectives. 1 to 10, 1 being very weak or non-existent, 10 being dialed in and spot on. And whichever one is your weakest, start there. You don't have to fix all 5 this week. Pick the weakest and fix that. Move it up towards that 10. Next week, do the next one and the next one. In 5 weeks, you'll have improved each of the 5 tools, and your business will be running much differently. The businesses that grow consistently, that provide the most freedom for the owners, that provide a culture where the teams thrive, they're not necessarily the ones owned by the smartest owners, but almost always are the ones with the clearest operating systems. So I'll invite you, if you'd like to identify where your business is becoming overly dependent on you, download, take a look at the Bottleneck Scorecard. It's linked below. And if you're interested in practical leadership and business systems that help you and other owners create more accountability, less chaos, and better execution, please subscribe, because that's exactly what we cover here each and every week. Again, I am glad you were here. It was good to see you, and I'll see you next week. Peace.